Good morning and welcome to Caring for Me, Caring for You, a thought and a prayer for the week. Today is September 21st, and during this coming week, we come into a very special time of the year, a time of high spiritual energy. Now, you've heard me talk about this over the years. When various groups of persons are observing specific holidays in their religious tradition, there is a high spiritual energy. Whenever a group of people comes together to pray, to reflect, to reconsider, and to rededicate, that is a lot of high spiritual energy. I'm not talking theology. I'm talking about the spiritual energy that comes from a group of persons making direct contact through prayer and meditation with the divine as they understand that word, as they understand the word God. And this week is the Jewish New Year. Now, I'm not speaking of a political state. I'm speaking of a group of persons of the Jewish faith. And this week begins the new year. It begins with the celebration of Rosh Hashanah, and 10 days later concludes with Yom Kippur. As a young musician and a student of theology, when I came out to New York, there are two things that young singers always do. You get a church job and you get a temple job. They're gigs, as it were, in the theological world. And I had already been chosen as the bass baritone soloist at St. Paul's Cathedral at Columbia University under the marvelous direction of the composer, the late Cyril Wright. It was to be a wonderful, wonderful experience, as were many of my musical experiences with some of the great, great talents of New York City, America, and the world. At the same time, I had the opportunity to sing for the first time in the choir at Temple Emmanuel, one of the most famous temples here in New York City. And it was a totally new experience to me. And it opened my eyes. Here was this little Lutheran who had come to New York, this big city, and was meeting people of different faiths, people of no faith, beginning the journey that was to be my blessing of meeting all of God's kids all over the world. But this was my first experience in the Jewish temple. And to this day, I have on many occasions now been gifted and honored to speak at memorial services at Temple Emmanuel. And I'm always overwhelmed because I will never forget the day I went to audition for Cantor Wolfson and the organist John Houston, who were to become two very dear friends of mine as time went on. But at that point, I didn't know them at all. And I'll never forget the stack of music that they passed out at that first rehearsal. And I'm going to share this story. I've used it many times to raise money for Hadassah and other organizations, but this is a true story. Now, this is this little boy from Wisconsin just arriving in New York. I sang, I got the audition, and there's even a funny story to that one, but I'm going to focus on the story of the first rehearsal. And they passed out a whole stack of music with as it were, the playbill, the program for the services. And at the first rehearsal, the cantor said to us, mark on your programs that before the final Omein on Rosh Hashanah, there will be a shofar call. They'd forgotten to write that in. Now, I am this little boy from Wisconsin, raised a Lutheran. This was all new to me, but where was I? I was at Temple Emmanuel, a temple filled with some of New York's wealthiest people. What does New York have? Lots of traffic. So what did I write down very dutifully? I wrote down chauffeur call, Chauffeur call. And I looked at the tenor, and I thought I was saying it quietly, but obviously I wasn't. I looked at him and I said, have you ever heard of such affluence in your life? because singers and musicians within churches, temples, and all religious institutions are often called upon to provide some transition music, music that is played while people reassemble, while people move, while a setting is set up. So that didn't surprise me. I thought, well, here they just don't want a traffic jam on Fifth Avenue, so they will have us sing while this, and they call it the chauffeur call. Well, the cantor heard my comments. He walked over. He looked. I'll never forget this. He looked at my paper and he said, Oy vey, come with me. And that was the day that I was gifted to meet the shofar, the ram's horn that is blown to celebrate the new year. I went on to spend 10 years at a temple in Brooklyn, Temple Beth Or, that truly became very much my Jewish family. And to this day, I still have blessed contact with each of them. And I will be contacting them on the new year as we and they go into temple and hear the words, Esa'anai. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. And for me, that resonated because in our family in Wisconsin, Psalm 121 was our family and remains our family psalm. And I was so thrilled. Esa'anai, I will lift up mine eyes. And so I give special thanks. There are many wonderful stories that came out of that experience. This is but one of them. But I have been blessed with all of my Jewish family, adopted, yes, but oh, cared for so well, here in New York and now other places in the world. So at this time, when thousands of people all over the world are praying together, spirituality and the spiritual energy surrounds the universe. Wherever you may be in your spiritual journey, grab on, grab on. Be still and go within to that spark of the divine that is within you and within me and that unites us. Go in and get to know that spark better, because that is who you are. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And right now, the human experience is very difficult. But that's not who we are predominantly. We are spiritual beings, so let's go within there. Let's go into love, go into passion, go into compassion, go into caring, and live from that outward. And you will bless your life and many others. And for our prayer, I'm going to take something that is said by many people at this season, and I think it's something I want to say to each and every person who's listening to the broadcast. And perhaps you might want to say it to someone as well. To those I may have wronged, I ask forgiveness. To those I have helped, I wish I had done more. To those I neglected to help, I ask for understanding. To those who helped me, I sincerely thank you. And as we always say, onward in love and caregiving, namaste. And to all of our wonderful Jewish friends, Lashana Tova, to each and every one of you, may you be inscribed in the book of life. And thank you for all the blessings that you have given to me. I particularly thank my now long deceased adopted Jewish parents, Bill and Tessie Steinberg, of Steinberg's Dairy Restaurant at 82nd and Broadway. God bless, and thank you.